Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're going to be going over our linear relationship word problems, basically meaning we're going to be having variables that we just substitute in. We're not going to be squaring them or using exponents or doing anything like that. It's a pretty basic skill, especially doing the foundations. Let's go ahead and get started. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already for these daily videos regarding SAT math. And let's tackle this first question. So, the expression 20L plus 25G minus 10 gives the number of dollars that Josie makes from mowing L lawns and raking G gardens. How many dollars does Josie make from raking 4 gardens and mowing 3 lawns? So we have an equation here, and we have our variables, L and G, and we also have numbers for these variables. We can see here, they're basically saying L equals 3, because we're mowing 3 lawns, and G equals 4. We are raking 4 gardens. So what we're going to do here, we're just going to direct substitute in our values for these variables. So we would, it looks like this. 20, and then we replace the L with the number 3, and plus 25, and we replace G with the number 4, and then minus 10. Everything else stays the same. We just substitute out our variables, and now we do the appropriate operations. 20 times 3 is 60. 25 times 4 is 100. So we are left with 60 plus 100 minus 10. 60 plus 100 is 160. Minus 10 is 150. And as they told us here, following this expression gives us the number of dollars that Josie makes. So the number of dollars that Josie makes from raking 4 gardens and mowing 3 lawns is $150. So that's our first question. Let's move on to our next one here. Puppy the dog weighs P pounds. Yumi the cat weighs Y pounds. If Puppy weighs 36 more pounds than Yumi does, what is the following? Which of the following equations correctly describes the relationship between their weights? So once again, we have some variables: P to represent Puppy, Y to represent Yumi. Then we have an expression which we need to model in the form of an equation. Puppy weighs 36 more pounds than Yumi does. That means we need to take Yumi's weight, or Y, and then add 36 to it in order to find Puppy's weight. So this is a basic equation. We do not have this option. However, in these questions, they also might expect us to manipulate the equation somehow. So we can see it obviously is not going to match B, because that's adding 36 pounds to Puppy's weight. What we need to do, as seen in these other 3 equations, we need to move the 36 over and move the P over. Once again, we are maintaining an equal relationship, so we can do this, and you are going to see this. So we need to subtract P from each side, since it's positive. So that's Y minus P equals negative 36. We still do not have a relationship like this. All these are positive 36s. So what we need to do, we need to multiply every expression here by negative 1. So we have, well, every part of the equation by negative 1. So we have negative Y plus P equals positive 36. Once again, we still don't have something that matches. We need to reverse their roles, their sides. So P minus Y equals 36, which is still an equal relationship to our first equation. So P minus Y equals 36, our answer choice C, is still correct, even though we had to do a little bit of manipulating. So that is kind of what they're relying on. We get our initial equation, and then we might be confused. Oh, it doesn't match any of the answer choices. Remember, you can still manipulate our equation using the laws of algebra. So answer choice C is the correct answer here. On to our next question. Video games create a sense of motion by displaying still images called frames in rapid succession. A popular video game displays 60 frames per second. Which of the following equations shows the total number of frames the video game will display in S seconds? So we just need to represent this scenario here. So the more seconds we have, this relationship right here basically says we have 60 frames in 1 second. Well, 60 frames per means divided by. So 60 frames per 1 second. So, and you might be like, oh, that looks like this relationship. But we're not going to be having 1 second here. We're going to be having multiple seconds. So in order to find X amount of frames for, let's say, 2 seconds, we have a neat little proportion here, which when we multiply, it turns out, well, when we solve using butterfly multiplication, turns out we multiply that 60 by our number of seconds to yield 60 times 2 equals our X amount of frames, which, if we take a look here, 2 is a seconds value, so we end up doing 60 times our seconds value equals our frame value, which is equivalent to answer choice D. Another way that we could solve this is by using common sense. The more seconds, the more frames are going to be displayed at 60 frames per second. So in 2 seconds, it's going to be 120 frames. That's obviously increasing value. Answer choice B, if we were to substitute values in, we would get the total number of frames would be 1/60th in 1 second. That doesn't make any sense at all. And then here, the more seconds, the less frames would be displayed. At 2 seconds, there would be 30 frames as a total number, even though at 1 second there were 60. Once again, also doesn't make sense there. So if we're just use common sense, we can eliminate these two, and then we can easily find that there is a multiplication relationship instead of an addition. So definitely take questions like these a little bit slow. Once again, they're in their foundation skills, so it doesn't take too much. You might have to do a little bit of work, but these should be pretty quick questions to answer. On to our next question here, our last one. The expression 62.4D minus 210 gives the number of Indian rupees received in exchange for D US dollars of the local currency exchange. How many rupees are received in exchange for 13 US dollars? So once again, D represents US dollars, very similar to our first question. We're just going to be substituting in 13 for the variable D, and let's remember to round our answer to the nearest whole number here. So 13 equals D, that means we're going to replace that D in that equation by 13, so we're left with 62.4 parentheses 13 close parentheses minus 210, and we just need to do some multiplication here. So 62 times 13, we can draw this out. In these foundational skills, I'll be going over simple calculations like these. Remember, you should always know how to do these multiplication and division skills, as you never know, your calculator battery might go out. So 4 times 3 is 12, carry that 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 6 times 3 is 18, and now we add a 0 down here. 4, 2, 6. Now we add 2, 11, and then 8. Then we add a decimal point right here. Now we need to subtract 210 from this, and that is 601.2. So that is 601 Indian rupees, which is our answer. So I hope this video was helpful, just going over our foundation relationship with foundational difficulty level with our linear relationship word problems. We're going to be getting into a little bit more difficult problems relating to this skill in future videos, so make sure to stay tuned for those. Make sure to have an amazing Christmas, everyone who's watching it on that day, and have a fantastic day. Goodbye.